Hi, I hope all is well with you. I'm doing pretty good. We're making milk bread, Japanese milk bread. This is probably my third time doing this. And the reason why this particular, episode or whatever we want to call it is important is because we're going to be using this. This is actually a legit milk bread type of thing, okay? I do have a recipe that I will be sharing. I'll say that it is version 1. There may be some modifications. We're gonna grease it up. We're gonna do all that good stuff. What I've done already is that I've already kind of prepped a couple things. So we made the tangine, which is flour and milk, and we have that here. It's already cooled, so it's ready to go. We've gotten the yeast, so the yeast is ready to go. We're gonna mix everything together. We got the flour, we got our scale, and we're gonna have fun with this. So this is gonna be like a 2-hour process, and this whole video is probably gonna be 10-15 minutes, which is great for you. Essentially, all we're gonna do now is just mix everything together, mix the dough for about 10 to 12 minutes, and then let it proof and do all that stuff. And then we're gonna be ready to actually bake off the bread. And once we're done with that, we're gonna assess it, taste it, see what we like about it, see what we don't like about it. And as we do that, I think we'll be in a better place of probably modifying it from time to time. But this first recipe, what I'm gonna do, I wanna make it just inside up here. So this is gonna be a lid on recipe. Let's get started. So here's our bowl, and I have a scale. First thing I like to do is actually add the flour. So for our recipe, it's 450 grams or 3 3/4 cups of flour, bread flour. Bread flour is extremely important. I tried this with regular flour. It was very soupy. It still worked, but it was missing something. I guess it was missing the protein out of what you get out of bread powder, as they call it, strong powder. Powder, what is this? Flour. Okay, 450. Okay, we're at 450. And this is the recipe that I've been working on for the past couple of times. And now we're gonna do the salt, which is 9 grams. I'm just using the food scale. There we go. So what else do we need? Oh crap. I think I can still do it. This is what we're gonna do differently with this recipe. I'm glad I kind of caught this before I really got crazy with it. We're gonna go ahead and fluff up the flour and salt and all that, okay? I didn't do that last time, and I noticed that it was a little different than what I'm used to when I make bread. So we're gonna sift this. All right, we're gonna see if that makes a difference. Probably does, probably doesn't. We'll see. That's the thing about recipes a lot of times is that you just do things just to see. A lot of people say sift it, whatever, don't sift it. And I think a lot of times what we should do whenever we are coming up with a recipe, or if you have the opportunity to ask that person, it's like, why are you doing that? Are you doing it just because everybody else is doing it? Or you actually have a rhyme or reason for why you're doing it? Because you tested it so many different ways that you've noticed that this way works best. Believe it or not, I'm an engineer, so I like testing things all the time. But sometimes you don't have an explanation of why things are what they are. So, and that's perfectly fine too. You just do it because it tastes better. You like the texture or whatnot. So as you see, the salt is still there. So we're just gonna pour that back in. Tangine, butter, whole milk, warm. It's probably ready to rock and roll. 2 eggs. Yeast, we already did the yeast with the milk and the sugar. We put salt in there. So let's go ahead and get this going. I'm not doing this by hand. I advise you, if you have a stand mixer, to just use a stand mixer. Makes it a lot easier. Okay, I think it's probably best that we mix it through first. So mostly everything is measured out. So we're gonna go ahead and measure out the butter and then kind of go about it that way. We need about 56 grams of butter. And I have this thing right here, this butter, so I use that. And it's room temp. I don't know how much it really matters when you're actually doing all this, which one you do first, second, and all that stuff. But we are going to just do what we can right now with this actual recipe. So we have that in there. I'm gonna go ahead and put the milk and yeast mixture inside. Let it do its thing. Now we're gonna do the eggs. We got 2 eggs. I'm gonna do this in a bowl. Just want to be safe, so I'm using the bowl. 1 egg, successful. And then I'm gonna let it go for about 10-15 minutes. I think later on, we're gonna also test out different things as it relates to how long do you really need to knead it? I'm thinking if I knead it longer, I think it'll just make it a little bit more chewier, but I'm not too sure on that. But again, that's why we're just testing things out. But it's one of those things to where it's like, let's just see what happens. Let's change a couple of variables and let's just enjoy this milk bread. So now I'm gonna do my timer for about 10 minutes. Let's say 10 minutes. Now it's coming together and it's doing its thing. We're gonna wait about 10 minutes and then we're gonna let it proof for 60 minutes to an hour, okay? Here's the end product. You can see that. What we're gonna do is just transfer this to another bowl. I can actually leave it in here. Why not, right? It's nice and sticky, but we're just gonna transfer it to another bowl. And we're going to let this sit for 60 minutes to an hour. And then once we're done with that, it's gonna be time to bake, okay? Just put some Oreo in here, just make sure it's lubricated. And then I'll put a towel over it so it can do its thing. And like I said, I'm just mixing it through. As you can see, it looks pretty, right? I think so. And we're gonna let it double in size. And then I'll see you in about 90 minutes before I bake, okay?
And I'm back. Many weeks, months later, and I'm back. Sorry about this. I thought I had more footage than this, but apparently I didn't. So what we're going to be doing right now is talking you through the rest of the process. So I put the bread in. After I put the bread into the bread thingy. What is this thing? It is a bread maker. No, it is a bread pan. I put it in there. After I put it in there, I think I waited another 45 minutes. After I waited 45 minutes, I let it bake for another 30 minutes. I think the recipe was more so spot on. I used like a mini toaster oven type of thing, a Wolf version. You can use whichever version you want. Just know your machines and kind of check it from time to time after the 20, 30-minute mark. And then you probably have to keep going back and forth a little bit to see if it's at the temperature. I think I pulled it about 190, 180 degrees Fahrenheit. And then after that, just took it out the actual bread pan. And that's what you're seeing right now. So all in all, that first recipe was just okay. Something about it didn't seem too right. But we have other videos that improve on it that I'm going to be talking about soon. So yeah. I hope this was helpful. I think it was. Let me know if it is or not. If you want to know more stuff, that's where I need to give you my recipe. Talk to you later. Bye.